In order to understand why using something like biblical morality in order to base our moral actions isn't nearly as useful as it seems, we have to look at moral dilemmas and moral conflicts in order to understand how there is often no clear way about how we should go about making our decisions. For example, lying. Some Christians would try and tell us that lying is a sin, but could you actually stop lying in any practical sense to yourself, to other people? Sometimes we lie to get what we want. Other times we lie because we need people to do certain things, even if they are for their own good, but we have to convince them that we have more confidence in what we think about the world than we actually do. Sometimes you have to say, yes, I believe this, when you don't really fully believe it. It's arguable that no one ever really fully believes anything, that they're always oscillating through some spectrum of doubt. That aside, though, forget examples of Nazis knocking at your door asking for Jews, just on a day-to-day basis. You cannot help but, in some sense, omit the truth, not say what you really feel, what you really think, because that's not always what the best thing to do in any situation is, if you want to achieve goals like happiness, make other people happy, maintain your job, continue to function and eat and live in society and be sane. You must on some level lie to yourself and lie to other people. Discovering when it is moral and immoral to lie, that is the actual crux of the moral dilemma about lying, rather than saying thou shalt not lie. In the Ten Commandments, it's actually thou shalt not bear false witness against your neighbor, which is something more specific to their legal system, in which they didn't have courts. They relied almost entirely on testimony. The concept of things like physical evidence is something much more recent in the sort of rules of evidence in the legal system. So when you have a legal system based on, human testimony, then lying, and the penalties is often death. Lying about what your neighbor did or did not do can be a matter of life and death. And so that seems, in that context, to be a clear case in which you should not lie. You should not lie when it would cost somebody else their life. Other times, you might need to lie to save somebody's life or to keep them happy, function in society, as I already discussed. We live in a world in which our every economic decision, in perhaps our every decision we make, has a moral component to it. If we go to a certain store and buy certain products, we may be propagating poor working conditions in the third world. We may be contributing to exploitation, to slavery, to, human rights abuses just by buying a product. What does the Bible tell us about these things? How am I supposed to take the Bible and then go into the store and say, I should not buy this, I should buy this? This sort of like decisions that the Bible is equipped to cope with is, how to take care of your cattle herd, how to plant your fields, and not to mix different kinds of seeds in different fields. These things might have a practical use in an agricultural sense, but the Bible just simply lacks the ability to truly speak to the modern condition, to modern moral dilemmas. It also doesn't really provide a robust basis on which we're supposed to sort out how we arrive at a moral conclusion about what to buy, what to do with our lives, how to engage with other people. Take, for example, the issue of homosexuality, which Sean loves to harp on, and he points to these bogus statistics about the spread of AIDS and stuff like that. Let's just take Alan Turing. Alan Turing broke the Enigma code and helped win World War II. Alan Turing helped get modern computing off the ground. It's the very reason we have a person like Sean today. So, what about all this? Well, he happened to be gay. He happened to commit suicide because his society did not accept his sexual orientation. In other words, the world was robbed of somebody who could have given us more than somebody like Sean or me could have ever really hoped had he continued to live, because of a stupid and mindless bigotry. That's my problem with a lot. I mean, forget the fact that I don't believe in their moral point of view. They can't even understand that these are human beings with something meaningful to contribute to the world, and that they would best contribute it by being allowed to be happy. And being allowed to be happy in the human condition is, largely dependent on social acceptance and finding love. So we make gay people happy, we allow them to love who they want, to be who they are, and they benefit society. Everybody wins. Or we can morally condemn these people, because in ancient society you have a cult of masculinity. That's the context, the social context in which, the biblical condemnation of homosexuality it takes place. These were texts written by people in a certain time and place. They lived in this masculine patriarchal culture in which you have to be a manly man, and it's actually funny that in societies like ancient Greece, you had males having sex with other males all the time, and there was no word for homosexuality because it was just so damn manly to have sex with other men. And so you have all this homoeroticism in sports even today. Oh, we're just tapping them on each other's asses because it's getting us pumped up for the game. No, this sort of like male homosexuality as like hyper masculinity still has not gotten complete. It's still in our society today, and it's funny. And people like these people seem unable to recognize like the fundamental fact that homosexuals provide something of value to our society, and that marginalizing them is damaging to society at large. Like, I'm sorry, but like the whole patriarchal culture, masculine, women are subservient to men. No, women have something to contribute to society over and above the patriarchal role which the Bible cuts out for them. And when we allow them to have that freedom and to play that role, we benefit. There is a direct correlation between the education of women and the industrial progress, or like the economic progress of countries. High rates of education in general lead to better societies. I mean, these are quantifiable facts. If we give people more freedom and we give people, more education, this makes a better world. It is you can look at the facts on paper. This homophobia is obsolete. It is bad for humanity. It is pointless bigotry. Sexism is more pointless bigotry. This is what we actually consider, all the dimensions of human life together, how society interacts. We see that these people as individuals have worth and have value, and to morally condemn them, and to segregate them and to treat them as a problem or as worthy of moral condemnation is getting us nowhere in our society. And in fact, like in the case of Alan Turing, it's actually depriving us of people we desperately need. I mean, if I'm in a lifeboat with, Alan Turing and Venom Fang X, no offense, but I'm going to be throwing Venom Fang X overboard because Alan Turing would be worth more to humanity, gay, straight, or otherwise. This sort of division, Christian versus non-Christian, black versus white, man versus woman, heterosexual versus homosexual. These divisions can no longer stand. Humanity just, in order to progress, and flourish for humanity, we just can't abide these, making these distinctions, real or morally distinct. Or conceptually distinct. There is some reality in the fact that I have a certain gender, a certain skin tone, I come from a certain culture. Those are certain, irreducible facts about who I am, and they're not going to change, but it's how we perceive these differences that matter. If we see them as other, as different, that creates problems. When we see other people, we give them the benefit of the doubt that they are fundamentally similar to us, and that they possess something meaningful to contribute to our lives and to humanity. Then humanity's better off. These ideas about the world and how we should treat other people, and in all of these forms of bigotry, simply, they're obsolete, and they must be done away with for human progress, to build a better society. They are no longer moral. They were never moral to begin with. They were just bad ideas that people had once upon a time. It's as simple as that. And once we recognize that, we may not have arrived at the final truth about what we should do, about the best way of living our lives. This is a continuous learning process. It's not that there's new moral truths out there to discover, it's that we're constantly learning what morality is. And so, give up on this whole idea that we're going to fix humanity by crawling back to some ancient creed. It's over, it's done. Humanity has moved beyond that. Step up to the new game. This is where humanity's at now. You just have to accept that, and the world will be a better place when you do.